Yo, welcome to Music is a Day Job. I'm your host, Sean. I'm also the CEO of Concert who puts this on. Concert is an artist accelerator app that takes artists from opener to headliner to on tour and gives the independent artist the chance to, gives the independent fan the opportunity to see some of the best live independent music. So today, what we're going to talk about is because a lot of people don't catch on to this, so I just want to make it well known so people can know is independent versus label shows, label artist shows. So like independent artists versus label artists. Because see, what we think is we see the label shows and we see the pyrotechnics, all this stuff like that, and we think it's basically like it's no way to compete. And you go like, oh well, he got this tour, and this tour goes from he's going all the way over to Japan, and he's going all now, all this stuff costs. So you're not really thinking in the idea of you're thinking that's having the bang for the buck, like, but it's not really. It's actually high expense. And so that's why you see some of these artists go on tour once and they never tour again. Or you see artists get shelved because of this, or you see artists can't tour as much because of it, like because of the costs. And so what you have as a advantage being an independent artist are these things that you should know these things because then you can take advantage of them. Now the thing is I call FaceTime, tour times, uh, uh, music catalog, and location. So then basically the FaceTime and consumer contact. Some of these artists don't get a chance to build that rapport directly with their fans. So they're in and out of the city. So where you have the upper hand is that you can go and do other things. You can go to a city and just constantly promote in that city because you're independent. You can go to some of the parties. You can go to because you can get to some of these areas and really promote. And so where they can't, they actually have to look a certain way and keep that excitement up about them. You can be there and get that FaceTime. And nothing is like that organic FaceTime that you have with people consistently. So you have to take advantage of that time that you have to be like, I can go to, you know what I'm saying, just like a party on the college campus and kick it with them, or I can go and do like something like where I can buy some pizzas and have tons of fans come out and kick it with me or whatever, because they have to do what the label lets them do. You can be super creative and do things like I had a one time before I went on tour, I had a pizza party, and I had a pizza party and just had tons and everyone got free pizzas, and so everyone came through. And then another time I had a listening party that I just had in like I was about to go into I had a listening party inside a castle in Colorado, in Golden, Colorado, that the mayor owned. And it was nothing, nobody, you know what I'm saying, like that was that contact with the fans, that they enjoyed it, that they got to have fun and see things that they never got to see. But then because they're super fans and stuff like that, I'm able to do this. But then as a label, they're going to question whatever I'm doing and why I'm doing this, and they might not let it happen. Now how many times you can go on tour? This is another thing. Like sometimes you got to think regular, like just business is the reason McDonald's is on every corner is because you see it all the time. It stays on your mind. It makes people just want to buy it because it's convenient. And then now, if it's something good and super delicious and it was on every corner, that's going to kill everyone because at that point, that means it's everywhere and it's the most delicious and it's the so now if you add both of those together, so then what I'm saying is like don't make yourself a convenient artist, but then make yourself to the point that you're as dope as they are, but then you can see them more times a year because they can't come all the time. They make these big tours where they go to a state and just hit one city in a state and hope everyone comes to it. So it's like if I go to Colorado, I hit Denver. If I go to Arizona, I hit Phoenix. If I go to like Texas, I only hit like let's say Dallas or maybe Dallas and Houston or something like that. And there's tons of other cities that have a lot of people there. And like so I'll explain that more later. But how many times you can go? You can go so many times. Like you can go see them 3, 4 times a year. You can constantly go back and forth and just go see them 4, 5, like 5 times within this year versus when a tour has to be created with a label to where they have to wait until the next time the label says you can go out on tour and has enough money to put them out on tour. You can go 4 or 5 times and be in front of their face. So very similar to any promotion that's on TV or anything like that. The commercials, they want to stay and keep the most commercials because then you're in someone's mind all the time. That's what ads are. Ads are to stay on people's minds all the time. The person who can pay for the most ads gets the most face time with those fans. So then if I'm out there to have that FaceTime consistently, I can be there way more time. So then the consumer is going to start comparing me and that other artist. And they're going to go like, well, this person doesn't come, so out of mind, out of sight. And then they're going to be like, he comes all the time, so then I want to see him. The next one is pushing the same music. Like, a lot of labels want you to go out when you have new music. Now, if you can have dope music, which I always feel a million people ain't listening to your music if you're independent. If you are, then you probably already popping. Like, it's like millions and millions ain't listening, but then tons of people, they still want to hear that same music. They never got a chance to hear it. And then so you can constantly you can go out multiple times with the same music. So then because people want to hear it again, like people think I got to make a new song before I go back out and stuff like, no, you don't. Because everyone didn't hear it. And if they have heard it, they haven't got the chance to love it to the point because it's not everywhere. So then when something plays on the radio consistently, they're hearing it all the time. So then it can get to a point where I'm over it. You know what I'm saying? But then if I have the music and you only really hearing it on Spotify or whatever like that, if you know it like that, or if you follow me or whatever, then you're not hearing it as much. It's not over force fed. So then that means when I get back out there, the second time I get out there, they're kind of like, oh, that's my jam that I like last time. The third time I get out there, then they're going to know some of the words. The fourth time, they know the whole song and they're going to sing with it. So I can do it more times than a lot of other people can because they're forced to have new music every time they go out because it's been oversaturated in the form of radio and everything else all the time. Now, the one thing I'm going to go back to was the locations idea, is that locations of like, you can go to more locations than they can go to because venue wise, some places, like some people don't have connects to all these smaller venues. Some people aren't willing to go to some of these smaller venues in these smaller cities. So then, like, for instance, I have around 10 stops in Colorado. So while some artists will only maybe do 2, at most 3, like I watch some of people do Colorado Springs, Denver, and Fort Collins, or Colorado Springs, Denver, and Greeley, I can do Greeley, Colorado Springs, Denver, Fort Collins, Boulder, Pueblo, Grand Junction, Gunnison, Alamosa. Like, I can just keep going, and they're different pockets of fans. Now, when you're independent and you have 300, 400, 500 fans in each city, you're filling their biggest venue in most of their venues other than in the big cities. So then you're doing big shows in all these other cities, which is something you have to look at, is that you don't have to pay out as much expense as a national artist, because a national artist can go on tour and they have to go everywhere and they have to go far away. So then that's hotels, that's how you get there, maybe planes, maybe buses, all those things become costs. Now, if you're doing in your immediate circle of, hey, I'm just going up an hour, you can always go back home. Or you can know somebody where you can stay at their crib. So then it cuts tons of costs, and they can't do that. So you can control an area and be able to hit all these different locations, and they can't do it. So that's where you start taking advantage of where your advantages lie, is I get to take control of an area, and then I can constantly do that and then move to my next area, versus where they have set situations, they have set locations they can go. Some labels only let them go to some spaces because of who the booker is. If it's Live Nation, AEG, whoever it is, they can only go to some spots, versus where I can just go everywhere I want to go. And then I can constantly run those. So take advantage of being an independent artist. Just don't look at it like, oh, I got to get to a label or something like that. Take advantage of it while you have it. If you get to a label, that's dope. That's cool if that's what you want. But if you don't, then take advantage of being that independent artist and doing your own thing and creating your business how you want to create it, because it's a lot of advantages that you have that the labels can't do like you would be able to do. And that affects the consumer different, because they get more face time, they get more opportunity to hear your music, and they start comparing your music to the other person's music. And if you actually better, then you'll see that turnout happen. So that's the difference between shows with labels and shows with independent artists.